Part 23. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 221. The female official sent Suwan back to Yaoguang Hall. Suwan lay on the soft couch without any strength and told the female official, "Go to the inner hall where I live. There is a small bundle on the table, and there is a white glazed porcelain vase inside. Take it back for the female doctor, give 2 pills to each of them." Yes, the female officer went to the inner hall to get the porcelain bottle and left. Suwan looked apologetic. "Master, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well and I offended you." "It's okay." Master Mingja noticed something was wrong with Suwan. He came to the soft couch and looked at Suwan's blue face with a stern look. He held Suwan's hand and looked at the scratches on her fingers. "Are you poisoned?" Suwan nodded. "The mother voodoo is in a bowl and is intended to be used to lure out the child voodoo. If the child voodoo does not come out and directly kills the mother voodoo, it will cause harm to my father. I dare not take the risk." "Who knew that the bowl was broken and the mother voodoo was planted in her body?" "I have used the child voodoo to force out the mother voodoo." Suwan took a breath and said worriedly, "I am afraid of leaving hidden dangers, so I specially asked the master to come over and ask if you have any jiako in your hand." Master Mingju was startled. Book of Rites of Zhou recorded, Shu's palm is used to remove poisonous poison, and he attacks it with gui and jiako. "I don't have jiako in my hand, but I do know where there is one. I will send it to you within 3 days." Master Mingju took Suwan's pulse. The pulse was stable, but qi and blood were weak. "The pulse is fine, you don't need to worry." Suwan nodded slightly. Master Mingju left a bottle of medicine and said goodbye. Suwan picked up the medicine bottle and poured out a green pill, which exuded a faint medicinal fragrance. She swallowed it and fell asleep hugging a pillow when she was so tired. The palace maid looked at it, came in quietly, brought a quilt and covered her with it. He accidentally touched Suwan's back and realized that her back was soaked. The palace maid was shocked and quickly brought a basin of hot water to wipe her body and put on clean clothes. Suwan slept all day and all night. People came one after another, all worried. "Gilialo." Suwan moved a little, touched her hungry stomach, and opened her eyes. The light penetrated her eyes. She closed her eyes and raised her hand to cover her forehead. After she got used to it, she opened it again and faced an enlarged face. She couldn't help but be stunned. Chi Min was sitting on the couch, wearing thick fur clothes. Her face was still bloodless, pale, and sickly. "Are you awake?" Seeing Suwan wake up, Chi Min still couldn't adapt to having such a big child. Looking at the sleep marks on her cheeks, she raised her hand to brush away the broken hair covering her eyes, revealing this childish face, as if she was looking at herself when she was young. Chi Min felt an indescribable subtlety in her heart. "Are you hungry? There's soup in the kitchen. I'll have it brought to you." Suwan watched her approach her, and brushed her cold fingers between her eyebrows. She felt a strange feeling in her heart. She moved her hair uncomfortably, propped herself up to sit up. Her hands were like soft noodles, and she couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Energized, he fell into bed again. "What's wrong with you?" Chi Min's expression changed, and she wanted to help Suwan sit up, but the wound on her wrist had not healed, and she was not strong enough. She could only temporarily take a pillow and use her good hand to hold it up little by little. He put Suwan on the pillow and loosened Suwan's clothes, revealing a trace of snow-white skin on his chest. Chi Min's eyes suddenly changed. Have you been poisoned?" The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 222. Suwan's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly lifted up her clothes and said with a smile, "It's okay, I've already forced it out. I slept for too long, and my whole body is soft and I can't exert myself." "Is everything okay?" Chi Min said worriedly. I'll ask Master Mingju to take a look at you later. Master Mingju showed it to me that day, and I asked him to prepare Jiako. Seeing that Chi Min didn't believe it, Suwon was not easy to fool, and said with a relaxed expression, "It's really okay, Jiako specializes in treating poisonous poisons, although the mother voodoo has come out of my body, but there is still a little bit of residual poison left, so if I eat Jiao, I'll be fine." Chi Min said doubtfully, "Let the female doctor take a safe pulse later." Suwon's eyes flashed and she acquiesced. The maid brought chicken soup and minced meat porridge. Chi Min fed Suwon some water, then half a bowl of minced meat porridge and half a bowl of chicken soup. Suwon didn't eat enough and looked at the remaining food eagerly. "You can't eat too much at once. You've been hungry for too long. Overeating is not good for your health. Eat less and more frequently today." Chi Min ordered the palace maid to take away the rest and watched her stare at the palace maid's back reluctantly. The corners of his lips raised slightly. "I heard that the Yangtze River brought government affairs to you to handle. If you don't want to do it, don't do it, just send the memorial back." Suwon said thoughtfully, "Why did they give me a memorial? This is a test for you, if you have any plasticity." The smile on Chi Min's face faded. "They want you to stay. Is it so arbitrary to choose an heir now? Just grab a young man? Picking the taller one among the short ones. I'll take your pulse." Suwon took Chi Min's hand to feel the pulse, and a smile appeared on her pale face. "The body is severely deficient. Although the poison have been detoxified, the body is severely deficient. If you take good care of it, you can recover. You don't have to worry about my health. You need to take care of your own health first." Chi Min suddenly asked, "As for my amnesia, can you cure it?" Suwon said frankly, "Your amnesia is not an accident. I studied a witch doctor's book when I came here. There is a witchcraft called Zuyushu. Zuyushu is a kind of spell that can be used to save people. It can be used to harm people, but I don't know witchcraft, so I need to ask a skilled witch doctor to take a look." Okay. Seeing that Suwon was low on energy, Chi Min stood up and said, "You take a rest, I'll go back first." Suwon nodded. As soon as Chi Min walked to the door, she met the queen who was coming over. "Call the female doctor and ask for Wan's pulse." The queen's expression changed. She glanced at the main hall, and whispered, "I tied up the female doctor and locked her in a secret cell for interrogation." "What's going on?" Chi Min looked solemn. "Yesterday, I looked at Wan and felt something was wrong. I questioned the female doctor. She insisted that Wan was fine, but I felt uneasy. I always felt that there was something strange about her expression. It happened that Wan asked Master Mingju to check her pulse. I sent someone to invite Master Mingju to Mingzin Palace to inquire about Wan's situation." The queen couldn't hide the worry in her eyes. Master Mingju said there was no abnormality in her pulse, but there was a flaw. Wan said that she used the child voodoo to force out the mother voodoo. If the child voodoo could be obtained first, as early as in the Great Zhou dynasty, Ji Xian's poisonous poison will be cured, so why endure a few more months of torture in vain, waiting until we find the mother voodoo in Ziliang and then we can cure it together? Master Mingju said that she has high medical skills. She may have used a method to suppress the poisonous poison, so he couldn't notice it. Wan wanted to hide it, so he didn't get to the bottom of it and gave her an antidote pill. The queen he took out a slender wooden box from his wide sleeve robe and said, "This is the precious grass sent by Master Mingju. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Bao. Chapter 223. Chi Min's face darkened. Even if she forgot everything, she couldn't change the fact that Suwon was her daughter. "How's the interrogation going?" "No move yet." The queen was halfway through her words. At this time, The female officer hurried over and said with a bad expression, "Your Majesty, the female doctor, she is dead." The queen looked solemn and was about to ask a question when she heard some movement in the palace. She gave the female officer a look and told her to shut up. After a while, Suwan came out dressed neatly. "Wan, why are you up?" The queen forced a smile on her face and handed her the jiako in her hand. "This is sent by Master Mingju." "Thank you." Suwan took the wooden box and changed her cloak into a thick fur coat. She still felt cold and her bones were trembling. "I'm going to see my father." "Your father's poison has been cured, but he still has the old illness. He is going to sleep now." Chi Min looked at Suwan with a meaningful look, pursed his lips. "Should I go with you?" "No need, your body is weak, don't catch the cold, go back and rest early." Suwan pointed at her face, trying to adjust the atmosphere. "I spent too much energy yesterday, and I haven't recovered yet." "You want to? If you fall again, there is nothing I can do." As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere became even weirder. Suwan didn't pay attention to it. The acupuncture pain in her heart made her tired of dealing with others. "You guys go back first. I'll see my father and I'll be back later." Chi Min saw that Suwan was feeling a little uncomfortable, and wanted to stay, but he would obey Suwan's words and leave with the queen. Suwan put her hands on the wall, exhaled, endured the pain in her heart, and went next door to visit Ji Xian to make sure that he was fine and breathed a sigh of relief. She couldn't bear the pain and lay directly on the imperial concubine's couch next to her. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead. She took out a porcelain bottle from her sleeve, poured out a pill and swallowed it. She closed her eyes and waited for the medicine to take effect and relieve the pain before leaving. The sound of steady footsteps came. Suwan opened her eyes and saw a tall chamberlain coming in and placing a half frame of silver wire carbon in the hall. Suwan looked at his burned face in surprise. People with facial imperfections or physical disabilities were not allowed to stay in the palace. But this man's face was completely burned, and the scars were so hideous that his true appearance could not be seen, and he should not be served in front of others. The man noticed Suwan's direct gaze and lowered his head. He hurriedly placed the basket in the corner, bowed and quickly exited. The palace maid happened to come in to add charcoal to the brazier and saw Suwan staring at the door in a daze, her brows furrowed. She quickly explained, "Miss Su, his name is Tokugawa. When the queen was shot by an arrow and her whereabouts were unknown, he found someone to send her back. He seemed to have been retaliated by someone and his face was burned by fire. The queen was grateful for his kindness and sent her back. He is placed in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. He doesn't usually go out much. He will probably be consecrated to the crown princess 2 days later. There is not enough manpower, so he comes to deliver the carbon. It is not to be disrespectful to you." Suwan thought about it and realized that it was Chi Min who was hit by the arrow. At that time, she was hunting as the queen. She asked curiously, "Was he a guard before?" The palace maid said, "No, he is a chamberlain." Doubt flashed in Suwan's eyes. Ordinary chamberlains generally could not enter the hunting grounds and only served outside. If Chi Min was hit by an arrow, he must have been in a hunting ground, and most likely deep in the mountains, and had fallen away from the team. If he was a chamberlain, how did he enter the hunting ground and go in to save people while avoiding the eyes and ears? The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 224. The palace maid seemed to see Suwan's doubts and explained, "When something happened to the queen arranged a large number of people to search for her. Whether they were guards or members of the aristocratic family, they all went in to look for the person. There were also people who wanted to make meritorious deeds. The chambermaid risked his life and went in for a fight, but he didn't expect to find him. There was another person who was accompanying him. 2 people carried the queen up in the mountain stream, and the other one fell into the mountain stream and broke a leg. Get a job in the palace to support your retirement. Is that so? Suwon smiled. He was saved by the queen, so she gave him a job, but the queen is kind and righteous. Seeing that Suwon really didn't mind, the maid filled the silver charcoal, poured her a cup of hot tea, and left. Suwon took a few sips of tea, covered herself with a fur bed, and planned to rest for a while. When Ji Xian woke up, she wanted to ask him something. Unconsciously, Suwon fell into a drowsy sleep. She woke up suddenly with heartache. Suwon was curled up on the imperial concubine's couch. The black fur made her face pale, like a colorful petal that was fading away and about to wither. He pressed his hands tightly to his heart, took a deep breath, and was keenly aware of a strange aura. Suwanqiang leaned on his body and walked around the inner hall, and suddenly his eyes fell on the silver carbon. I walked to the corner, picked up a piece of charcoal from the basket and smelled it. There was only a strange fragrance that seemed to be there but not there. Crush the silver carbon, there is still a little moisture inside. Suwon sneered. Sure enough, there was something wrong with the silver carbon. This carbon is soaked with medicinal liquid, and after drying, if you are not sensitive to fragrance, you will not be able to detect the problem. Even just now, she didn't notice it immediately, or even be affected by it. Luo Chang. Luo Chang appeared immediately. Miss, something happened. There was a layer of frost in Suwon's eyes. Control the palace maid just now, tie up Tokugawa who brought the carbon to the empress, don't alert others, and investigate secretly. Luo Chang felt awe in his heart. When he saw Suwon's dirty hands, he knew something was wrong. Don't worry, my subordinates will take care of it now. Suwon watched Luo Chang leave. The poisonous poison in her body was stirring. She called the palace maid to take her to the imperial pharmacy, prepared some medicine, and returned to the Yaoguang palace to detoxify the poisonous poison in the inner hall. An hour later, Luo Chang came carrying the cold wind. Knock knock. Luo Chang's face tightened, and he suppressed his anger and said, Miss, are you here? Come in. Suwon's weak voice came. Luo Chang pushed the door open and went in, and saw Suwon sitting on the ground, her face as pale as if she had been seriously ill. Her bleeding hand was holding a porcelain bottle and pouring powder into the bowl next to her, making a sizzling sound. As he got closer, he discovered that there were goo worms in the bowl. Luo Chang was shocked. This. Don't let it slip. How is the investigation? Suwon threw the porcelain bottle directly into the bowl, grabbed a piece of handkerchief and wrapped it around his wrist. Has anyone been caught? Dead. Luo Chang's face darkened. The man was fished out of the lake in the imperial garden and was already dead. The Ministry of Internal Affairs checked and found that Tokugawa took the silver carbon from the warehouse and it had never been handed over by anyone else. Before Suwon said anything, Chi Shiliu came in and said, Miss, Ju and Ju Ji are here. Where are you? Just entered the imperial city. Suwon muttered, find their whereabouts and tell me. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 225. In a quiet house in the capital of the Western Liang Kingdom, in a dark room, the cold and gloomy atmosphere makes people feel depressed. A man in black was sitting cross-legged on the futon. Smoke curled up from the Buddhist niche, which was covered with charms drawn in blood. Puff. The man in black had a heartache and spit out a mouthful of blood. Master, the young man, who was almost integrated with the darkness, anxiously came out of the corner, took out the handkerchief and handed it to the man in black. Have you been bitten? The man in black wiped away the blood on his lips with a handkerchief, pressed his hand on his chest, raised his head and looked sinisterly in the direction of the palace, revealing a ghostly face. His face seemed to have been marked with a branding iron, creating hideous scars. Black ink spread along the lines of the scars and covered the entire face, making it look sinister and terrifying. That bitch's charm has been broken. This sentence almost came out from the teeth of the man in black, with hatred in his scarlet eyes. Impossible, the young man exclaimed. Grandma said that witchcraft has been lost. The mother-child voodoo is the last pair of voodoos. No one can solve it. When the two armies were fighting, Manzi went to southern Xinjiang to ask his grandmother to come out of the mountain and plant the soul-leaving goo for Jixian. They were afraid that grandma would undo Jixian's poison, so they exterminated them directly. Only grandma escaped with him. It was the person in front of them who saved them and hid in the capital of Ziliang. Grandma once had a relationship with Master Mingzhu, so she wanted to entrust him to Master Mingzhu. However, she heard that Master Mingzhu went to Dazhu to cure people of poison, and she guessed that it was to cure Jixian. Sure enough, the mother-child goo devoured the soul-departing goo planted by grandma. Grandma suffered the backlash and passed away that night. In order to ask his master to take him in, his grandma gave King Goo to his master. The Zima Goo is refined by the Goo King and is controlled by the Goo King. Who knew that Master Mingzhu had some tricks to suppress the mother-child goo, and the master could not control it at all. During the recent period, when he was able to control it, he was prepared to let Chi Min have an accident on the day when he canonized the crown princess, but he did not expect that the poisonous poison would be removed. Grandma said it was karma and she didn't pass on the art of raising poison to me. The young man couldn't think of anyone else who knew the art of poison. After all, even Master Mingzhu couldn't resolve it. If it's cracked, it's cracked. If it weren't for this mother-child goo, I wouldn't have known that the current queen is fake. The man in black sneered repeatedly and pushed the young man away. There are still 2 days left for the canonization of the crown princess. The young man was stunned and followed the owner's line of sight to the shrine, where he saw 3 tablets placed inside. The 3 tablets respectively read: the wife Wei Xinglu, the son Wei Juyu, and the daughter Wei Jug. The man in black's eyes suddenly softened. He picked up Wei Xinglu's tablet, wiped it carefully with a silk handkerchief, and murmured, "Luer, have you been waiting for a long time? Don't worry, I will ask your enemy to accompany you soon." He coughed a few times, swallowed the sweet taste in his throat, put the tablet to his lips, kissed it, touched the name, and put it back. Suwan learned about the whereabouts of Juyu and Juji and asked Qi Shiliu to take them to Siyi Pavilion to stay. After all, they have special status. I wonder if the Supreme Empress and the Empress can tolerate them. She planned to go out of the palace to see Juyu and Juji after she was canonized as the crown princess, and inquire about Dezhou's situation. She hadn't seen Gu Huizi for several months and she missed him very much. She didn't know if she had received a letter from her. Time flew by, 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the day came for the canonization of the crown princess. Just as Suwan got up, the palace maid brought a set of bright yellow palace clothes. The author has something to say. Babies, today's update is complete. See you tomorrow. Good night. Okay. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 226. Suwan's expression suddenly changed. Bright yellow was always only worn by emperors and queens. Even the crown prince and princess wore red crown clothes. What the hell is Ziliang doing? Give her the Zen position directly? Are you kidding me? Suwan said with a cold face, "You brought the wrong clothes. I wore a bright yellow robe. Is this an act of disobedience? Are you charging me with treason?" She suppressed her anger and pushed the tray away. There was a pop sound, the tray was knocked over, and the robes were scattered on the ground. The palace maid was so frightened that she fell to her knees on the ground and said, "Miss Su, this is the Queen's order. I am acting under orders. If you don't wear it, the Queen will definitely punish you and punish me. I have a very good temper during this period, which is why you do whatever you want with me. You keep me in the dark about such a big thing. Are you treating me like a puppet, or are you sure that I will not reject this beautiful thing that is so easy to come by?" Zhongshan, Suwan looked sullen and sneered, "Today is a great day to confer the title of Crown Princess. It's a joy to see blood." Whether it was the Supreme Empress or the Queen's idea, it completely stepped on Suwan's bottom line. If she is not forceful and expresses her attitude, will there be no need to discuss anything with her in the future, but will she be able to make a decision for her authoritatively and bow her head to make her agree? Suwan held back her anger, walked to the cabinet, took out a plain long skirt and put it on, a lilac feather gauze-covered crane cloak in white fox fur, and a pair of deerskin boots, and went directly to G. Mysterious. The palace maid's face was pale, she folded her robe neatly and tremblingly, and carried it to the Queen. The Queen is in the Mingxin Hall, and Fan Yuheng, Wei Liuyan and Wei Liujin are also there. The Queen was discussing the next matter with Fan Yuheng, and said worriedly, "The Queen Mother is very resolute in dealing with things, and her methods are also very tough, and she does not take into account the feelings of others." It turned out that this was a ceremony to canonize the Crown Princess, but it was temporarily turned into a Zen ceremony. The courtiers will have objections, and they won't be able to digest them, right? She didn't get along with Suwan for a long time, but she could tell that Suwan was very indifferent to fame and wealth, and his temper seemed to be very good, but that didn't touch her bottom line. If she did, I'm afraid she wouldn't be so easy to talk to. Is a tough one. If Suwan is an ambitious person, everyone will be happy today. If Wanwan is willing to take over Ziliang, the men in the harem can handle it well. Fan Yuheng was happy to see it. He touched Wei Liuyan's head. "What do you think of Yunyan? The ancestors said that the fittest will survive. I am not as good as the eldest sister. It is understandable to leave Ziliang to the eldest sister. In addition, this throne originally belonged to my aunt. In order to fulfill the Mother Emperor and you, the Mother Emperor is sitting here now." Wei Liuyan started from sensible. All people regard her as the Crown Princess because the Mother Emperor has only one daughter. She also thinks so, and treats herself as the future queen and demands of herself, studying strictly and not daring to slack off. Suwan's appearance gave her a sense of crisis, which meant that her status was under threat, especially when the Queen Mother handed over the memorial to Suwan, which sent a message that the Queen Mother wanted to return the original throne to Zhao. There was injustice in her heart. In her mind, no matter how powerful Suwan was, he was just a person raised by an ordinary prince. He had never learned the imperial arts. How could he rule a country well? It wasn't until the ancestor called her over and showed her the memorial on Suwan's handling that Wei Liuyan knew she had to admit defeat. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 227. Wei Liuyan went to find Suwan only after her prejudice against Suwan disappeared and she became curious. Suwan just finished removing the poison, her face was pale, she sat weakly on the stool, and arranged all the things properly. She left with the support of the female officer. Even though she was in a mess, her back was still straight. Especially when she heard the conversation between the Queen Mother and Master Mingzhu, she felt that Suwan's tenacity was beyond her reach. "Royal Father, I don't want to be an ant." Wei Liuyan is only 10 years old now, but his mind is far beyond that of his peers. Fan Yuheng breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that his daughter would be aggrieved, have inappropriate thoughts, and ruin his life. The Queen pinched her cheek lovingly. "You can understand this, and the Queen is very pleased." "Mother, Emperor, Father, let's go," Wei Liuyan urged, "let's go see eldest sister." At this time, a maid outside said anxiously, "Your Majesty, Miss Su is very angry because she refuses to wear the clothes you prepared." The palace maid parroted Su Wan's words and spoke them out word for word. The atmosphere in Mingxin Hall condensed instantly. The queen rubbed her eyebrows and said, "I knew it. Go and have a look." Fan Yuhang made the decision. The group went to Yaoguang Hall to find Su Wan. If Su Wan felt it was too sudden, she could start with the crown princess first. The queen prepared to push Su Wan to the throne after careful consideration. The safest thing is to first canonize Su Wan as the crown princess, and then ask the tutor to teach her the art of emperorship, how to govern the country, and how to control people. From the first game of chess, the queen had a glimpse of Su Wan's temperament, so before Qi Min and Ji Xian reconciled their old relationship, she put an end to long nights and dreams, and first pinned him down on the throne. She was still young and could teach Su Wan step by step. Su Wan's rejection reached the ears of the Supreme Empress immediately. She immediately turned cold, not surprised, and prepared to go and meet Su Wan in person. Qi Min came to Jing'an Palace first. "Mother, I have something to say to you." She knelt down in front of the Supreme Empress and said with sincerity, "I have lived in confusion for more than 10 years, and then I realized that I have a daughter. Maybe the blood relationship is too mysterious. Even if I don't remember her, when I see her, I want to be close to her and be good to her. I have been absent from her life for more than 10 years, investigating her life in Dazhu. As a mother, it's very derelict and I don't know how to face her. I'm afraid of seeing her alienation, rejection, and discomfort." She smiled bitterly, but after several encounters, I realized that what I feared most was that she couldn't bear to hurt my heart. She tried her best to cooperate with me and carefully hid her strangeness and alienation. I wanted to make amends and repair this mother-to-mother relationship. Girlfriendship, but there is no way to start. She has grown up and is living well outside the wings of her parents. I don't want myself as a mother to be of no use to her, but to drag her down." Qi Min's heart ached, tears welling up in her eyes. "My son is willing to follow your arrangements, please don't treat Zhao or take action." The Supreme Empress leaned back and said coldly and ruthlessly, "Even if you are not allowed to reconcile with Ji Xian." "Mother, have you forgotten? He is just a stranger to me." Qi Min opened the corners of her lips, as if she wanted to smile, but couldn't, so she was too lazy to maintain her smile and bowed to leave. When she walked to the door, Qi Min suddenly stopped, turned her back to the queen and said, "I have never experienced being a mother for a day, but maternal love is natural. Queen Mother, as long as my child is happy, I am willing to give everything. Even life. No one can impose their own thoughts on children in the name of love. Everyone has their own independent thoughts. They are not puppets and puppets." The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 228. There are no secrets in the palace, and word spread that the Supreme Empress wanted to make Su Wan the queen. Everyone in the court was shocked. As early as a few days ago, there were rumors in the palace. Su Wan is the queen's heir in the great Zhou dynasty. They guessed that the crown prince of Ziliang might be in turmoil, but they didn't expect that it would be a big earthquake. They all panicked, and some couldn't help but go to Fan Kuozang and Fan Kuoju. Both of them were old foxes. They were doing Tai Chi with a smile and only said, "We support all the queen's decisions." Everyone was extremely depressed. Could it be that the princess with Dezhou blood in her body was really allowed to inherit 11 liang? Why not? The abbot looked at them with a look as if you were all pedantic. Have you forgotten that the queen also has half the blood of Zhou dynasty? These words succeeded in silencing them. Among the people in the capital, some agreed and some opposed. In the tea house, storytellers all made up stories to mention this incident. Zhu Yu and Zhu Ji were sitting in the tea house, and the brother and sister disguised themselves. After hearing the storyteller's mellow words, they couldn't help but look at each other, and they all saw surprise in their eyes. Brother, is Sister Wan Wan really going to be the queen? Jug pouted and said gloomily, will I not be able to see her? When my mother committed a crime, everyone in the palace was beheaded and burned to death. No one survived, only the brother and sister escaped. I don't know what the Supreme Queen's attitude towards their brothers and sisters is, and whether she still wants their lives. Perhaps out of concern for their bloodline, they would not kill their heads, but they would be exiled to a fief, or imprisoned in disguise. Brother, do we really want to enter the palace? Jug hesitated in his heart, not wanting to take the risk. Can we just find a place to live and start a new life? Waiting for the queen to return to her birthday in 100 years, Wan the queen will give us a normal life. Juyu remained silent. This time when he returned to Ziliang, he felt a strong uneasiness in his heart, as if something big had happened. Suwan saved Juji's life, and Juyu wanted to return the favor. Although her mother died, she still had her subordinates around. She asked them, brother and sister, to avenge her. Juyu touched his twitching eyelids, and the uneasy feeling became stronger. Looking up at the rare sunny day, there is always a sense of calm before the storm. Suddenly, Juyu's eyes darkened, he stood up suddenly and said, wait for me here. He rushed out quickly, chasing a man in black, and walked through the crowded streets and narrow, dark, and damp alleys, and came to a house that was probably very old. The damp walls were covered with a thick layer of moss. The black painted door is mottled, giving off a faint hint of decay. Juyu raised his head to observe, and suddenly saw a towering tree stretching out from the house next door. With a thought, he climbed up the wall lightly and hid in the leafy tree. If he didn't stand under the tree, he wouldn't have noticed that there was a person hiding in the tree. Juyu climbed very high and had a broad field of vision. He saw only a few people walking around in the house, but no trace of the man in black he was following. The corners of his lips were pursed tightly. This man was the leader of the dead soldiers around his mother back then. I don't know how much time passed, but suddenly there was movement. A man in black came out, followed by a man who was dressed like a steward. The steward warned, all the things are buried in the altar. When you hear the signal, start taking action. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 229. Yes, the man in black left quickly. The steward locked the door, looked in the direction of the palace, and sighed. The master had played a chess piece like Tokugawa in the palace, and it turned out that he was planning to kill Ji Xian at Yinsi Ten. The envoys of the Zhou dynasty would definitely not let it go. 11 Liang followed in chaos, and the master took advantage of the opportunity to take action again. But they didn't expect that they were so smart that instead of being poisoned and dying unknowingly, they followed the clues and had to sacrifice a chess piece like Tokugawa, so they had to mobilize their troops today. Thinking of what would happen next, a strange smile appeared on the butler's face. Move, what hands? Juyu suddenly thought about what day it was today. It might be a ceremony for the canonization of the crown princess, or it might be the ceremony where the empress directly abdicated the throne to Suwan. Such a major ceremony must involve sacrifices. What do they want to do when they bury things inside the altar? Julu's heart suddenly sank to the bottom. He didn't know the manager, but it was impossible for the dead soldiers to mistake him. Do they want to avenge their mother? He wanted to jump down to stop it, but reason suppressed the impulse, and he tried his best to stay calm. As soon as the housekeeper left, Juyu jumped down from the tree and left quietly. Return to the tea house. Juji waited anxiously, and when he saw Juyu coming back safe and sound, he took a long breath. Brother, where have you been? You scared me to death, I thought you. As he spoke, his eyes were red, and he held Juyu tightly with both hands. The arm, I only have you as a relative, so please don't let anything happen to you. I'll be fine. Juyu's gloomy face. The moment he saw Juji's tears, the gloom dissipated and a smile appeared on his face. I just saw an old friend. I have something to do with him. Jug burst into tears and smiled, and said uneasily, shall we go back to Siyi Pavilion? Okay. Juyu absent-mindedly sent Juji back to Siyi Pavilion and settled her properly. The old friend that my brother met just now is willing to provide us with a small courtyard. I'll go take a look. If it's not bad, we can go live there. If you keep living in Siyi Pavilion, you will be exposed sooner or later. Juji felt inexplicably panicked. He grasped Juyu's arm tightly with his fingers and shook his head. Brother, can you not go? I don't want to stay in the capital. Let's go back to Dezhou and stay in Ji Miaoguan, okay? She was afraid that once her brother left, he would never come back. Geer, don't be afraid, brother will be back soon. He hugged Juji and rubbed her head. Before dark. Juji refused to let go. Juyu opened her hand and turned away. Time is running out. Juyu took a carriage and went directly to Fan Mansion, wanting to tell the father of the country about the matter, hoping to destroy the conspiracy. When the servant heard Juyu's intention, he frowned and said, the father-in-law and uncle have entered the palace, and the ceremony has already begun. Juyu's expression suddenly changed. Where is the young lady in your house? Which family do you belong to? The doorman asked. I am the son of Wei Xinglu. I have something important to report. Please go and tell me. As soon as the doorman heard Juyu's intention, he closed the door with a bang and hurried to invite the young lady. Miss Fan opened the door and looked at Juyu coldly. You still dare to show up in Ziliang, aren't you afraid of losing your head? Juyu ignored the defense of men and women, grabbed Miss Fan's hand and ran away. My mother's subordinates are going to take action during today's ceremony. I can't enter the palace. If you take me into the palace, it will be too late. Miss Fan almost broke her teeth and cursed, not daring to delay, and followed Juyu into the palace. When they arrived, the ceremony was already underway, and hundreds of civil and military officials were at the ancestral temple. Boom! There was a loud noise, and a mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Juyu recognized that it was the direction of the ancestral temple. The author has something to say. Babies, today's update is complete. See you tomorrow. Good night. Okay. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 230. No. The canthus of the 9 desires is about to split. Dynamite. It was actually dynamite. Don't let anything happen, don't let anything happen. 9 desires rush to the ancestral temple. Wherever you enter, you can see everything. The glazed tiles fell to the ground. The door of the ancestral temple was closed. The guards worked together to pry open the door. Your Majesty? Can you hear me? Is there anyone in there? The response was silence. Panic and despair appeared on all the people's faces. They watched with their own eyes as the queen, the empress, the royal husband, Suwan, the princes, princesses, and civil and military officials entered. When the celebration began, the palace door suddenly closed, and before anyone could react, there was a deafening explosion and the pungent smell of saltpeter. With such great power, it is easy to know that the chance of survival is very slim. Even if you are lucky enough to survive, you may still be missing arms and legs. Juyu rushed over and helped everyone pry open the door. I prayed in my heart that nothing would happen to Suwan. Miss Fan's legs were so frightened that she grabbed a guard and asked with a cold look, has the person inside come out? Didn't come out, they were all inside. When the explosion went off, we heard the screams. The guard said with a pale face and said in a trembling voice, we need to pry open the door as soon as possible to see how much, What's going on inside? Miss Fan knew what was left unsaid. Look how many people are alive inside. You prepare tools to break the door open. Miss Fan regained her composure and began to give instructions. Are all the Imperial doctors inside? You go to the Imperial Medical Bureau and arrest all those who understand pharmacology. The guards seemed to have found a backbone, mobilizing manpower to find tools and go to the Imperial Medical Bureau to arrest people. After a while, the tools for attacking the city gate were pushed over and hit the palace door again and again. Click. The door latch is broken. The palace door burst open. With a tense face, Juyu rushed into the hall where the smoke was billowing, making it difficult to see what was going on inside. He could only smell the strong smell of blood. Miss Fan followed closely behind. The smell of saltpeter made her mouth and nose feel uncomfortable, and she couldn't open her eyes. His Majesty. Miss Su. Juyu and Miss Fan groped their way in, and they guessed something under their feet. Juyu froze, and from the feeling of their feet, they were sure they had stepped on someone's leg. His heart sank to the bottom, and Juyu almost gave up hope. No one responded in the hall. The ground was full of people, all. Juyu felt particularly uncomfortable. Was it too late after all? He didn't believe that Suwon died so easily. She is always very confident, her eyebrows are flying, and it seems that no one can do anything to her. Juyu didn't believe that such a person would be blown up to death here. Suwon, Suwon, did you hear me? Juyu walked inside and said as he walked, Suwon, please respond when you hear me. Gu Huizi is still waiting for you to come back in Dazhu. You will be fine. Right. Come out. Come out quickly. The more Juyu walked in, the inexplicable panic became stronger and stronger, filling his heart. His voice suddenly rose to a high pitch, and he roared with emotions that were on the verge of losing control. It's okay now, you can come out, no need to hide. Juyu paused suddenly, looking at the thin white mist floating in the air. Suwon stood beside the curtain, his eyes suddenly turned red, and the tightly tightened string relaxed. I'm fine. Suwon saw that his expression was not very good, as if his breath had been taken away by what happened in front of him, and he stared at her. The joy and relief in his eyes replaced the panic, and the corner of her mouth moved. Why are you entering the palace? There were chaotic footsteps outside the door, as well as the sound of armor clashing with swords. Juyu turned around, his pupils suddenly shrinking.